Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Andrew Shafat. Now, in part 2, as we have gone through an in-depth look on how Netflix strengthened their talent density, increased candor and feedback, and how Netflix released more controls to their employees. Now, in part 3, what we are going to look at is how Netflix maximizes its talent density and how a circle of feedback becomes a powerful force for Netflix to grow their employees, and how it eliminates most of their controls by leading with context. And last but not least, we're going to look at how Netflix went global and spread candor around the world. So stay tuned, everyone. To achieve the highest of talent density, leaders at Netflix have to be prepared to make tough decisions. If leaders are serious about talent density, they have to get in the habit of doing something a lot harder. Firing a good employee when you think you can get a great one. We often find leaders telling their employees about staying together regardless of performance, bad or great. Netflix didn't want people to see their job as a lifetime arrangement. A job is something you do for that magical period of time when you are the best person for the job, and that job is the best position for you. Once you stop learning or you don't perform well anymore, that is the moment you passed on that spot to someone else who is better fitted and to move on to a better role for you. Netflix sees themselves more as a professional sports team, which is a good metaphor for high talent density. Since athletes focus on these factors, they demand excellence, making sure every position is filled by the best person at any given time. They train to win, expect to receive candid and continuous feedback about how to up their game from their coach or even from their teammates. They know if they are not doing their best effort, they will be thanked and swapped with another player. For an individual to be considered excellent, he can't be just amazing at the game. He has to be selfless and put the team before his ego. For people who value job security over winning championship, Netflix is not the right choice, and they are very clear and non-judgmental about it. Now, Netflix has the keeper test, which is if a person on your team were to quit tomorrow, would you try to change your mind, or would you accept their resignation, perhaps with a little relief? If the latter, you should give them a severance package now and look for a star, someone who you would fight to keep. They try to apply the keeper test to everyone. The goal is to remove any shame for anyone to let go from Netflix. Now, with the keeper test, the push for high talent density, employees often are concerned about keeping their job. To minimize their fear, employees are encouraged to ask their managers the keeper test prompt. So it's like this: if I were thinking of leaving, how hard would you work to change my mind? Now, when you get the answer, you know exactly where you stand.
Feedback, and then you either apply that feedback or you don't.
One, I have experienced it to be a very positive thing. I like being encouraged to actually go up to my manager and be like, where do I stand? If I was to leave tomorrow, would you fight for me?
Yeah, and I don't think the keeper test should be a yes/no. I think the way you describe it is pretty accurate. It's like, where do I stand? Would you fight for me? Like, what do you see in me? Where do I need to step up?
So I did ask one day, is my job at risk? And because I think I was here for like 7 or 8 months. We were working on this big project. Everything goes so quickly, and we were having like different opinions about topic. And I was like, is my job at risk? Like, no. It's just like we're having a conversation, and it's just always just asking like where you're standing and where you need to improve.
And I think it also links into the ongoing feedback. Like if there is something that isn't working, I truly believe that will have been brought up through feedback.
I think if you are giving constant feedback and are open about what's going well, what's not going well, I don't think the keeper test is scary at all. There's no surprises there. I think for a company it's very healthy to have something like the keeper test, because it makes sure that you have only stunning colleagues, right? Or that you have a lot of stunning colleagues.
Well, starting to speak to people and also realizing in my own role, everyone has worked with someone who is just there because that's where they've worked for a number of years, and no one's really kind of given that kind of thought about if this is right for them. So it's a really active thing, and it's really also a positive thing to know that someone has chosen to keep you.
Sometimes I think we've talked about the sports team, or sometimes we talked about a jazz band where we all need to be aligned and synchronized. In those kind of environments, it's something that you don't question. So like when you're trying to get to do something or get to a place from a business point, I think I really see it as a common sense or something that you need to have.
There is one Netflix guideline that if you really practice, it would force everyone to be either radically candid or radically quiet. Only say about someone what you will say on their face. Candor is like going to the dentist. Even if you brush your teeth daily, you may still miss some uncomfortable spots. Netflix established a regular mechanism so that critical feedback is given at the right time. Now, Netflix hated the performance reviews or KPI, key performance indicator, the measurement used by most companies. It is because the feedback was only one way from one person. Instead, they created a 360 review with the employee listing out names of those whom he or she wanted to receive feedback from. This was filled out anonymously across a series of categories, rating the employees on a scale of 1 to 5 with a start, stop, continue format to ensure there was concrete, actionable feedback. During its first 360 review trial, the feedback that came from anonymous people made the comments vague, and some cases gave an opportunity to speak up in sarcastic ways. The second time around, the employees gave out their names on a 360 review, and this made the observations concrete and actionable. Now, Reed Hastings came up with a live 360 feed, which was more like a speed feedback. Each pair gave one another feedback using the start, stop, continue format. Once all members were covered, they had a group discussion on what they learned during the feedback. They found the live 360s useful because individuals became accountable for their behavior and actions to the team. A live 360 could take about 3 hours for a group of 8, maybe 5-6 hours for a group of 12. Leadership with control is familiar. The boss directs initiatives, actions, and decisions of the team, gives some freedom to the team, but overall, it is control. Leading with context at Netflix gives you much more freedom to the employees. As a leader, you provide all the information you can so that your team members can make great decisions and accomplish their work without oversight or process controlling their actions. The benefit is that the person builds the decision-making muscle and makes better independent decisions. However, leading with context requires that you have a high talent density performer. A great example differentiating the leading with control and leading with context is how you treat your teenage son going out to party on Saturday nights. Monitoring him every half hour till he comes home, or explain to him the dangers of drinking and driving, and once he understands, let him go with any process or oversight. A second key question to consider to lead with context or with control is whether the goal is error prevention or innovation. If the focus is on eliminating mistakes, control is best. If the focus is on innovation, it is best to lead with context, encourage original thinking, and not telling employees what to do. Netflix believed in the motto that when one of your employees does something dumb, don't blame them. Instead, ask yourself what context you have failed to set. Are you articulate and inspiring enough in expressing your goals and strategy? Have you clearly explained all the assumptions and risks that will help your team to make good decisions? Are you and your employees highly aligned on the vision and objectives? Now, in most organizations, we find the pyramid decision-making structure. The boss makes the decision and pushes it down, or those at lower levels make smaller decisions and leave the big ones to the top of the management. Now at Netflix, the informed captain is the decision maker, not the boss. The boss's job is to set the context that leads the team to make the best decisions in the organization. This type of decision making is more like a tree, with the CEO sitting at the roots and the informed captain at the top branches making decisions.
Limiting effectiveness.
For me, context, not control, is about spending a lot of time talking to your team members about what we're trying to achieve. From then on, it's about giving people real responsibility to actually get that done, and give them a lot of flexibility and freedom to do that the way they see fit.
They might come up with something that is 1,000,000 times better than any one of us at this company have thought of before, because they're experts in this field. And I think that's why it's also important to have that freedom. Nothing is set in stone, and I think that's an important part of it as well.
I think when I joined, I really was like very overwhelmed about the amount of access that we had. I was like, there has to be a moment where this has limits and all that.
I think for me, to the people I manage, is like, what is the right dose of context also? So it's empowering and not paralyzing, because sometimes you get to a point that there are so many information about a specific topic, then, well, first you spend more time like reading than thinking.
Fair. Yeah.
And it's how do you find the right balance?
Yeah, and then I feel like if you are in this environment where you get really controlled, that's where you get like this kind of paralysis when you're like, you don't want to move forward, no one takes any decision and nothing is being done. And I think the great thing about being at Netflix is that I've been able to do things so much quicker than I have ever done before.
More nimble, right?
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
move
Much
ahead
more
and do whatever
nimble.
you want to do.
Yeah, and we have great leaders, I think, like lead really by example at Netflix. And the fact that they trust what you do is the best thing.
Netflix has become one of the most favorite streaming services in the world. Now, in order to integrate the Netflix corporate culture around the world, Netflix has to be humble, be curious. They listen before they speak and learn before they teach. By learning from Netflix's company culture, one needs to keep in mind the culture of the country you are in while giving feedback. It is important to map out your corporate culture and compare it to the cultures of countries you plan to work in. For a culture of freedom and responsibility, candor would need extra attention. In less direct countries, it is best to implement more formal feedback mechanisms and put feedback on the agenda more frequently. In more direct cultures, talk about culture differences openly so that feedback is understood as intended.
In Korea, there's a culture we say 우리, which means we. So instead of say I, when people have that idea of like we, us, and ours, it kind of makes you feel like you're part of something.
I think working for Netflix really at this moment in time is a very special experience because you're actually riding the wave, being the first person to do X in Korea, because we see everything happening now for the first time and we see new players coming into the scene, and so we are part of that adventure.
I think it's really nice to be surrounded by the very stunning colleagues who are very brilliant, but at the same time very humble. I love all the collaboration with the marketing and also publicity.
Netflix culture is very special because they have so many curiosity to each other's product.
I think Netflix being in Korea is definitely helping K-content and K-business to sell across the world. Netflix being a bridge to the world for K-content is such a huge contribution for the industry itself and also the country, and I'm really glad to be part of it.
Netflix believes that when you lead or manage a company, you have a clear choice, either working to control the movements of your employees through rules and process, or implement a culture of freedom and responsibility, choosing speed and flexibility and offering more freedom to employees. Now, it is important to differentiate the different ways of working. In a manufacturing environment, you're trying to eliminate variations, and most management approaches have been designed with this in mind. So companies operated as symphonic orchestras with synchronicity and perfect coordination as a goal. If you are leading an emergency room, testing airplanes, or managing coal mines, or delivering just-in-time medication to senior citizens, rules is the way to go. However, for those who are operating in the creative economy where innovation, speed, and flexibility are the keys to success, those which operate in closer to edge of chaos, the symphonic orchestra may not be the right type of musical score. It is more like a jazz, and when it comes all together, the music is beautiful. Now, hopefully you have gained insights about Netflix's success in building a great company culture. Who knows, you can apply this as well in your company. Now, if you enjoyed my video, make sure to subscribe and like this video. See you soon on my next video, everyone. Bye-bye now.